In this episode of the Texas Private School Podcast, the Falcons defense flexes their muscle as they dispel the Eagle attack. John Cooper goes BTA without Jacoby Dixon against Lutheran South. The First Baptist Secondary has one of the greatest statistical performances in TAP's history. The Knights shocked the world with their sixth consecutive Holy Bowl victory, and Jared Pineda walks away a hero as Episcopal shatters the hearts of St. Michael's. All this and more in the Week 3 recap of the Texas Private School Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another recap episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. As always, I am one third of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder join me from College Station and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, respectively, where I call in from East Dallas, Texas, USA. Gentlemen, Walker specifically, if I could sing a lick of anything, I would lead us in a communal singing of the Spirit of Aggie Land right
As you
here,
should.
right now. I will spare the people of that, but some may boast of prowess bold, and
Love the
I
school.
we don't I don't appreciate Ryan Schroeder wearing the colors of Notre Dame on this program on this
That's
fine
not
afternoon,
that.
but
Whatever.
it's just
That's a stretch.
I the first thing I did when I woke up this morning, I threw the A&M polo on. I walked outside and said, "This is a beautiful day to be a fighting Texas Aggie." Will I say that after Auburn, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and others? I don't know. But for today, Walker, we live like kings. We reminisce over a beautiful evening in South Bend where we sent all of those people home very upset. How does it feel to finally be on the right side of the mountain?
We were like 0-15 against ranked games on the road. We
By the way,
finally,
that stat is garbage because it means
awful.
teams. Yeah, okay, yeah, bad.
It's awful. We finally got the one. And like you said, Wes, when we talked off stream or off this, is like we don't usually win those. We won this one. And it felt so good to finally get it. It was an instant classic, by the way. What an unbelievable game. Like I feel like it has to be a top 5 game as a student for me personally. I can't
Yeah.
I could say that for one more semester as a student. It was unbelievable, man. I think it's everything you wanted, right? The NIL money we spent on Mario Craver and KC Concepcion proved to work. When have we ever our talent come in and work like that? It never happens. Um, Finally did. Mario Craver and KC are probably the best weapons we've ever had since, in combination duo since Swope and Evans in 2012. That's how long
Crazy.
ago. Best receivers since Christian Kirk in 2016. Marcel Reed finally proves, yes, he needs to work on the deep ball, but like he proves that he can win us football games against the best of the best, which is exciting to see. If you connect on 3 of the other deep balls he missed on it, I mean, we're talking about a big win for A&M, not just a close one, a big win for A&M. Defensively, the Elko halftime adjustments against one of the best running back duos in all of the country, maybe the best running back duo of all the countries, was unbelievable. You're not going to ever stop them, but you held them enough to win the game, right? Like it's that's a culture changing win.
Yeah.
We don't usually win those. We win those. It was so awesome to see. As an Aggie man, that was so much fun. I'll say it. You know, I went out to Northgate afterwards and was amongst the people. It was good to be an Aggie that day, and everyone was happy. Everyone was having a good time. It's what A&M is all about, man. The culture, like you always say, Russ, from the outside looking in, you can't explain it, and or you don't understand it, and the inside looking out, you can't explain it. And it is just an unbelievable thing. Shout out to being a fighting Texas Aggie. Also, shout out to the Cowboys for pulling off a win today. We record this on Sundays. It was definitely the game of two bad teams. Who's the worst team? But we came out
Not
with a
them.
Brandon Aubrey field goal to win it, and that's what it's all about. Who is the greatest kicker to ever live? Brandon Aubrey is the best of all time. That guy deserves a blank check.
Second to Jack Dragus.
And we'll talk about that in a second.
We will get into that in a moment. That being said, it's also nice that Texas and Arch Manning stink, so that's always fun.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
talk more about that at some
Oh.
point. Ryan Schroeder, I don't know how much you want to participate in the A&M gloating here. maybe you can jump on our bandwagon since Oklahoma State probably will be imploding their football program here relatively
Yeah.
shortly. But thoughts, comments, concerns on anything in the last few days of college football, as well as TAPS football. You can also feel free to lead straight into the Jack Drygis story.
I mean, I was gonna do that, but also I just had to shout out. I feel like SMU. I didn't even tell y'all that I was gonna be up there, but I was like that is now gonna be my team. Just because what don't need OSU. I was like I'll just take SMU and shout out Coach Red as well. Obviously, son getting his first career touchdown pass on the game on Friday night, so it was kind of like a back to back. I loved looking at because obviously I shot photo. And I was looking through like, Red's page and stuff and looking at his like retweets. And I was like, so is he gonna like retweet the final score of the SMU game, or is just the last four reposts just gonna be TXPS media reposts on his thing? I was like, all right, sounds good. That works as said, I guess. But no, it was great. It was great being out there. Great getting to go up to Springfield. But no, I mean, also I got a call on Friday night. Apparently, they're ringing the bells. What's the guy that was like riding around in New England saying like the British
Paul
are coming?
Revere.
Paul Revere. So low key, shout out Coach Johnson. Definitely hit me with the Paul Revere. Gets me on the phone and is like, he's like, hey, he's like, I got a 64-yard field goal I'm about to send you. Jack Drygis just hit one from 64 yards. And I was like, okay. I was like, let me send me the video. For those who don't know, Legacy Christian, my alma mater, they played homeschool association, and Jack Drygis, who we've talked about a couple times now, obviously one of the best kickers in private school. From my knowledge, doesn't have any big offers, if any offers at all, from what I've heard. But definitely a great kicker. Hit a 64-yarder at the end of the HSAA game. From what I heard on that specific drive was that basically they were setting up to kick a 59-yard field goal, and it was the end of the game, and they were already up, a ton of points, but they were already set up for 59, and they're like, hey, Jack's the punter. We can leave Jack out there to punt, or we can just let him go for 64. And they're like, you know what? We're going to let him go for 64. So, of course, lines up, kicks it. Shout out to the guys in the booth. They were definitely going crazy on that one. And we tried to get it verified because obviously the question was this the longest in Texas history? From what we do know is we know that it's not the longest in Texas history. Number one longest is back in 87 when Dallas Christian's Russ Cowsworth, gosh, that's so bad. 67-yarder against Nolan back in the day. So it's still another TXPS, another TXPS record, which I think I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Ryan, I'm going to cut in here. This is
Yeah.
a bit peculiar because if you'll remember
I
back
knew
to
you were gonna
especially
say
the state recap or preview from last year,
whatever.
there seemed to be something where you and of course
Oh!
my battery's
Oh,
okay.
I might keep this in. I might keep this in.
Whatever.
Figure
Keep
that
it. It's
out.
a great no context.
And he couldn't even get it
Ryan, you have
through.
slandered. You have slandered TAPS kickers relentlessly, and now
Okay.
the top two field goals in high school history are from private school kickers. Explain yourself, please.
Yeah, technically, yeah, that's not a good look by any means. But Jack Drygis is a legacy Christian, so I'm gonna give myself a little bit of leeway that he went to my alma mater, and I'm just gonna discount that factor. But overall,
Ryan,
the
is he
point.
allowed to discount that?
No. Point still
Sorry,
stands.
Walker, is he allowed to discount that?
No. Point still stands.
No, you have to say you
No.
don't know ball. Say it. Say
No,
it.
I'm not going to because
Say it.
I have a video of Coach LeVoren saying I do know balls.
Get
So
him
why
off
would
the
I say I
program.
don't
Get
know
him
balls?
off the program. It's a 2-1 vote.
Okay, we know what my opinion is. For those who don't know, my opinion is that schools don't put enough emphasis on special teams in private school. That's what it is.
Ryan, that is insane.
It's insane of a take, or it's insane that I said that because
No, you're saying we don't have kickers.
Your
All
take
kickers
is
suck.
insane. I feel like there's more focus on special teams at the higher level of private school than there is in public school.
no, I'm telling you right now that there's some times where I feel like whatever. That's not the point. For those who have been here, know that that's what my take was, and know that that's what it's been. And I don't care that Jack Drygis hits one for 67 or 62 yards, 64 yards.
Right.
And for those who are saying, obviously, shout out to LSESN. They're going off of NHS's, things. They're saying it was fourth all time. It's not fourth all time. I'm looking at a Max Preps article that's labeling like 7 or 8 different ones that are above
So
65. So
I have another one though. Like I had a source, as you see right here, that says it's the sixth longest all time, which is still very impressive. And time it's with the likes of Graham Gano. Shout out the New York Giants kicker for a long time.
in
And
Texas or everywhere?
I think all time everywhere. But it's the second longest in Texas history, right? Like you just said. But supposedly, from my source, it said that they banned the small kicking tee in 1987 or like later. So in the modern field goal format, it is the longest field goal in Texas high school football history, and you can say
Mm,
that, which is
okay,
a
that's
pretty
fair.
cool thing.
I'm sorry, I can't get off the fact of Ryan like taking the segment to credit the kicker when he's the biggest op
I got
for
set
Texas
up.
private
I
school
got set
kickers.
up. I got
You
set
did,
up.
and the fact that you understood that the second I like kind of looked at the camera and put the finger up
Yeah, it's
made,
just
and then my camera died. We have two beautiful no context clips between that and Paul Revere to start the episode. I don't know what more can you want? We're back. This is TXPS at its finest. It's why you all tune in. That being said, let's roll straight into the Texas Private School Media scoreboard from Friday night, powered by Ryan Schroeder. As always, we will forego the 5 games in the top side of the left-hand column for further analysis here shortly, but we will start with Parish Episcopal besting San Antonio Cornerstone 43-38. I think it's a good win. Lucero seems like he's getting a lot more leash. Jalen Pyle had like 230 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and a kick return. I think that's a lot of points against San Antonio Cornerstone, who I know they're good. You know what? I said it on the Space Walker. I'm not gonna nitpick it. Great win. Walker, you can take Houston Christian St. Pius, and then Ryan can go to the next.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, St. Pius barely squeaks out a win against Houston Christian 20-17. Um, Not a great showing for St. Pius one bit, being absolutely honest. This is a SBC 3A team, and we've talked all year, at least through 3 weeks, about how we feel like SBC 3A teams are lower down, but then they made a kind of a resurgence this week. Noah Carrasco goes 16 of 7 of 16 for 132 and 2 touchdowns. Amir Parks Brooks goes 11 carries for 130 yards. Receiving wise, Jarrell Moore has the best night with three receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Amir Parks Brooks has 33 yards and a touchdown. It looks like Trey Finney didn't have that great of a night. Just they probably locked him down and said, "You're not scoring tonight." But they pull out the win, man. And from what we heard, I think number 3 and number 5 for Houston Christian looked impressive in that one. You know, Houston Christian for going 0-3 to start the year is never great, but they were playing a very tough non-district slate, which will have them set up ready to go for, when it comes to SBC 3A competition. It's gonna be very interesting to see how Houston Christian competes. We talked a lot about how, and we'll talk about more in some other games that happened this week. The SPC 3A is just pure chaos. I have no idea how that's going to settle out, which is a lot of fun. So,
Ryan Schroeder.
Yeah, Catholic Bowl goes down on Saturday at Choctaw Stadium. JP2 ends up taking down Nolan Catholic 38-21. Another game that was also played at Choctaw Stadium that is of mention as well. And I'm gonna go a little bit more on this one. Obviously, by the way, that might be the only time you'll ever see me pick Plano John Paul over anybody. But we all three got it right, right? Isn't that right?
yes,
We did.
yes.
Yeah, that's fair. But we got that right. The other game that was also played at Choctaw, though, which I want to mention, is Bishop Lynch played Bishop McGinnis, which is actually right down the street from me here in Oklahoma City. According to Ryan Plug, was that his name? Wes?
Loogie.
Plugi.
Plugi. According to
Wait,
Ryan Plugi
yeah.
on Bishop Lynch Athletics, and this is important. There was a play on 4th down and with 3 minutes left in the game where Bishop Lynch basically, stops Bishop McGinnis as they're fumbling forward the ball on 4th down. And, that's how they end up losing the game, is because obviously Bishop McGinnis got the first down there. I wanted to mention that specifically because the final score of that game is 35-28. Bishop McGinnis beats Bishop Lynch, but it should have been Bishop Lynch had the ball back with 3 minutes left in the game. Whatever. Either way, still, a good, we'll call it Oklahoma versus Texas, private school matchup. Bishop Lynch falls to Bishop McGinnis, but a huge game for both games played at Choctaw Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, definitely so. ESD best Second Baptist 36-20. A little more context makes this game make more sense. Cannon Tune got hurt in the second quarter of the Fort Worth Christian game and has not returned to action since. So that gives a little more light as to what's going on there. They'll be, I think, we talked a lot about Second Baptist being kind of in a state of panic. That makes a lot of sense as good as he is. Once he gets back, I'm sure they'll be fine. ESD appears to actually be a pretty talented team this year. Quarterback Mike's Link accounted for 5 touchdowns, 4 passing, 1 on the ground, threw for 335 yards in the win. I think EST is going to be one to watch moving forward.
Oh, yes, to me. Regents pulls out the win against Antonian Prep, 63-41. Points, 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 points. That's all you see in this one, man. Regents, shout out Jack Devine, gets a big, big, big night.
450 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yep. 23 of 30 for 443 or 450 and 5 touchdowns. Isaiah Mills had 100 on the ground with 3 touchdowns receiving. Blake Smith, 146. Caden Millington, 139. 3 touchdowns together. Kalon Millington, 80 and a touchdown. Dane Heath, shout out the senior, 48 and a touchdown. Points, 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 points. That's all you see in this one. Shout out the Regions.
Pantego Christian defeats Mercy Culture. Sophomore quarterback Hayes Young threw for 143 yards, but on the ground, Anthony Jackson, 163 yards off 22 carries. Dude was taking it all night long, had a touchdown, and 2 in the air go to wide receiver junior Mason Hickman. 2 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Efficient as always with that, but Pantego gets the 32-7 win over Mercy Culture Prep.
Definitely so. Brentwood Christian smacks Legacy Prep out of Magnolia 48-17 to move to 2-1 on the season. Pretty high on Brentwood this year. They beat Savio in week 2. They narrowly fell to Central Texas Christian by 7 in week 1. It's going to be interesting to see matchups. I forget they play Grace in 2 weeks. Grace is a decent team. I think that'll be a good measuring stick for them. That being said, that I forget. I say that because I forget Brentwood. They're recently Division 2, right? Have they been Division 2 for a while?
Since the realignment, this new realignment,
Okay.
so the past
Yeah, so it's the second year of it. Yeah, they were there last year. They're still a D3 team in my mind. That being said, they performed well, but in that district, it's going to be tough with the regions, Brook Hill, Hyde Park, etc. But they will beat done, so that's nice.
Yes. Moving on to Central Texas Christian beats Waco Live Oak 47-7, the battle of the 2 semifinalists from last year. Central Texas proves a statement win in how good they can be in Division 4 this year. Cooper Smith goes 6 of 15, 136 and 2 touchdowns. Austin Evans, intern, goes 16 carries, 171 yards and a touchdown. Dang, 10.7 yards per carry. Shout out to you, Austin. Coulter Ragsdale, the junior, goes 8 carries, 109 and a touchdown. Nicholas Istri, the junior, has another 2 touchdowns. Ike Klemchuk on the ground has a touchdown. Receiving the big guy, Ike Klemchuk, the linebacker, all-state linebacker, receiver now, 3 reception, 109 yards and a touchdown. Big win for them, right? It shows to us, right, that also Ike Klemchuk has 10 tackles, 2 TFLs on the other side too. Man, what a game for the kid. Austin Evans, another 10 tackles on defense, and Hunter Evans, I'm guessing the younger brother, had 10 tackles and a sack as well. What a night for Central Texas Christian. That is exactly what you want to see from them. The battle, we can say all we want. They're going to be very good. We keep saying that over and over and over, but it really comes down to that Brazos Christian game in October, which is going to be a lot of fun, and we should be there because that will be a big time matchup between the two to see, hey, is Central Texas really about it, or is Brazos Christian going to be the top dog again? So it's going to be interesting to watch.
In a TAPS versus SBC Fort Worth battle, Fort Worth Christian ends up winning by just 9 points in a game that ended up being an absolute shootout. Fort Worth Christian defeats Fort Worth Trinity Valley 61-52. With about 6 minutes to go in the game, it was a 5-point game. Obviously, from like we talked about with the Antonian versus Regents game, it was all out offense. From what we could see on the stat sheet, obviously Gigliotta played a great game, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. On the ground, senior Kason Anning had 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think when we talked on the space about this game, it was obviously just that TVS had way too many points. For a team like Fort Worth Christian, who is clearly had a great start to their season so far. They obviously beat Second Baptist last week with the information that we now know of Cannon Tune going out in the second quarter of that game. Beat a brand new school in Richland week one. Fort Christian is opening 3-0. But definitely a great showing from TVS, a team that me and Wes will see this weekend, but we'll get to that.
Definitely so in the Battle of Bryant Irving. And a game that was not that, but still an SBC matchup. St. Mark's best Green Hill 47-7. Good win for St. Mark's. Two kind of subpar teams relative to their talent level in the previous 2 weeks between them and Cistercian. They really needed that after getting mollywopped by Country Day in week one. I still think St. Mark's has pieces to be decent, but especially with ESD becoming competent, it's going to be hard to find wins in that schedule between them, EHS, Cooper, and Kinkaid. Will be interesting, but certainly a good win on the week.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game, Grapevine Faith wins a big one over Cistercian, 55-7. Looking at the stats, looked like a great night for Austin Cosby, 18 of 21. Wow, 85% completion percentage, 356 yards, and 5 touchdowns. What a night for the kid. On the ground, it looks like, what is this kid's name? Mateo Sharippa. I think this is the transfer running back. Comes in with 13 carries, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Receiving, Noah Smith had a great night. 6 receptions, 131 yards. Jacob Montez, 3 receptions, 96 yards and touchdowns. And Jace Walker, the junior, 5 receptions, 106 yards and 3 touchdowns. And junior, Charlie Birch, for 24 receptions, or 24 yards and a touchdown. On defense, it looks like Corbin Irwin, the senior linebacker, the standout senior linebacker, had 8 tackles. It seemed like a pretty good night for Grapevine Faith, kind of business as usual against a team like Cistercian, but it's going to be interesting to see how they play against St. Mike's this week. That's going to be a good matchup and probably maybe one of our games of the week, man. That's going to be a fun one to see how good is Grapevine Faith and can St. Mike's come back against the Lotts we'll talk about in a second.
After coming off a bye, Fort Worth Country Day defeats Colleyville Covenant Christian by a score of 46-26. Freshman quarterback Hayes Casey coming into his own, 282 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. His main target of the night being Owen Blomendale, who had 4 receptions for 101 yards. He had a blocked field goal. Overall, just a strong game from Fort Worth Country Day. On the ground, Fox Burton had 3 touchdowns as well. Like we said, Country Day is a strong team, starting out their season 2-0, and they got a great matchup this weekend. We'll get to it later this week.
Definitely so. St. John's best Calhoun 35-32 to move to 2-1 on the season. Good wins in back-to-back weeks against them and Houston Christian. Obviously, Shea Quinn's very talented. The big thing is that we're broken record saying that Cole Allen's gone. Who's going to step up? It seems like they're finding pieces, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fare against the Second Baptist team next week that has had a rocky start to the season. I think that's a game that could sneakily be one of the better ones of the week and maybe a decent chance that we preview that. I haven't made the script yet. I don't know.
Liberty Christian beats Decatur 35-24, which is a really good win for them. I know Decatur's been played against some other private school teams in the past, but it's a good win against a solid public school team. The stats are not up on Max Preps, but I know that I think Cooper Witten had a touchdown. I'm going to guess Quinn Murphy had a great night. We talked a lot about Liberty Christian's kind of just playing these public schools, and it's hard to get a gauge on them, but these are good losses and good win in this case. I think, we've talked a lot maybe they're going to be a little down this year, but after the results these first 3 weeks, maybe they're not as down as we thought.
UIL 5A2 Bastrop defeats Prestonwood Christian 70-55. I included this one in here as well just to show that Prestonwood put up 55 on Bastrop. Bastrop is a team that's already beaten China Spring this year. Obviously a very high level 3-0 now 5A team. But overall, Prestonwood put up a lot of points. It's a game where, Prestonwood going forward, they get a bye this week, and then they start their district slate. I'm interested to see with just the 2 games they played so far. Obviously, they've lost to All Saints in a game that, was the rain game. They had a bye the first week. They've only played 2 games so far. So yeah, we'll see what happens for this Nolan Catholic game here in 2 weeks. But I think putting up 55 points on Bastrop after your only game before that being just a half is interesting. Preston hadn't played a lot of football. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll tell you right now.
Very true. St. Andrews falls narrowly to San Antonio TMI 42-35. I mean, it's a good win for TMI. More than anything, I think it's a good loss for St. Andrews, the relatively new SPC 3A level school. I mean, looking at that, TMI smacked John Paul Shirts in the first week, and TMI is playing a rogue schedule. They dropped out of D1, still a good team that you would think has talent. 3A is still pretty stacked with Oak Ridge, TVS, Houston Christian, and the like, but I think this is a good sign for St. Andrews, especially with guys like Marcus Erlinson getting 2 touchdowns and then Mr. Greenberg, the sophomore quarterback, throwing for 2. I like what I see out of the Hilltoppers. I think they're the Hilltoppers. They're the Highlanders. Close enough.
Oh, dang it.
The Highlanders like the car.
Yeah. Hyde Park beats Savia 44-7, and it looks like it was a pretty close game at half, where it was only 17-7 at half. And that touchdown being pretty close, then one of the last touchdowns being pretty close in the late second quarter, but then 20 points in the third, and the rest is history for Hyde Park. It's gonna be an interesting year, right? We already talked about how Houston Shaw is out of this team for the whole year. How does this team react, right? How good can Crawford Moffitt be this year, which I think is pretty dang good? Can he lead this team to a second round appearance in this year? I don't know. It's gonna be intriguing to watch, but I trust my guy over there, Ross Roby and company, to make something happen this year.
Graphic says 44-0. Actual final score is 48-0. Concordia Lutheran defeats Kelly Catholic. Obviously, massive win. Nothing more than that. They're 2-1 with the loss to Cooper 2 weeks ago, but now they go and host Fort Bend this next week. Not a lot to take out of that. Kelly Catholic's now 0-3, but a pretty dominant win from Concordia Lutheran.
In a similar manner, the Woodlands Christian destroyed Van Vleck 43-7 behind 4 touchdowns and 300 passing yards from senior Army commit Santiago Fernandez, tossing those 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, being Cade Blackburn, his brother Julio Fernandez, Baron Meacham, and Luke Benson. His brother Julio had 166 receiving yards on 4 catches. For those that are mathematically challenged, it's 41.5 yards per catch, which is pretty good by my standards. TWCA, our favorite in District 4 for a reason. But that being said, gentlemen, that is the TXPS Media Football Scoreboard. I remember at one point we just did 1 sentence for every game, and now I think we're basically recapping the entire slate of Texas private school football.
On Friday, Bellaire, Episcopal, and St. Michael's faced off. It was a close game coming down to the wire, with Bellaire, Episcopal getting it done, winning it 44-42, with their game-winning field goal to really seal the deal. However, it was all St. Michael's in the first half. They were up 21-0 after a pick 6 by the class of 2026 DB Cole Griff. The Episcopal Knights then tried to come back, scoring twice in the second quarter with a touchdown pass to class of 2028 Tyler Williams and a rushing TD by their quarterback Devon Warren. The second half was a constant back-and-forth battle, with St. Mike's scoring first, then Episcopal would score again, trying to come back. St. Mike's Nico Anderson scores a rushing touchdown with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, leaving the Knights to come back scoring again. They decide to go for a 2-point conversion, but don't get it. Episcopal gets the ball back and treads down the field to the 25-yard line, getting their game-winning field goal and getting that walk-off win against St. Mike's.
In a highly anticipated TAPS Division III versus TAPS Division IV matchup, First Baptist Academy of Dallas decimated Dallas Covenant by a final score of 42-18. The FBA defense was one of the main reasons for their win, having a totally not stat-padded 83 total tackles, whilst also having a sack and having 7 interceptions of the night. Nice. The FBA offense was led by class of 26 QB Dylan Jones, who was slinging the rock around all night to guys like Tucker Brown, Mike Foster, Colden Doika, sorry if I said your name wrong, Edward, a.k.a. Eddie, Proctor, and freshman Antonio Cobb. Meanwhile, on the Covenant side of things, their starting quarterback, whose name is Ryan Hillner, got hurt. But on the bright side, their backup, Thomas Lashley, who's a freshman, son of SMU head coach Rhett Lashley, had himself a night, throwing 3 touchdowns. Also, class of 27 D lineman and Connor Evans for Covenant was pretty good. Go recruit that guy. In other news, BCS destroys Hearn 50-20.
The Holy Bowl, filled with history, tradition, and one of the craziest environments in all of Texas private school football. I'm Bradley Hanna, and I'm here to give you my weekly recap over Holy Cross and Central Catholic. This week we had a crazy game. Once again, the Holy Bowl, one of the greatest environments in all of Texas private school football. Holy Cross had a close one at first. They were winning 12-10 at halftime against Central Catholic, so the Knights were up. Then it was all Holy Cross after that. That's what we like to hear. Taylor Flores had 180 rushing yards. Rocky Orozco, 5 touchdowns, and Julian Salas had 170 receiving yards. The Knights had a crazy game, ended up winning it 33-17. We'll see you next week. I'm Bradley Hanna, here with TXPS.
On these episodes, which is what we're here for. We are ESPN for private school sports.
We
That
need
being
to
said,
do like Chris Berman. We need to do like back or whatever. Like we need to do that for these games and have it fun. But that takes a lot of time, and we do not have that time.
No, we don't. We're already almost over our time budget, so let us move into the games of the week, of which there are 5, starting with St. Thomas versus Kinkaid. Kinkaid wins this one 21-6, and I'm going to start by reading you a direct quote from last week's script. Quote, I'm going to hang my hat on the Kinkaid defense. While the talent on the field might tempt you to swing St. Thomas, it seems as if the Falcons always get it done in these spots due to the defensive system that Larned has built. End quote. I want to be honest. I think right now, if Larned puts me and Ryan at safety, Walker at nose, and Klosek at linebacker, we're still going to allow under 18 points per game with a bunch of unathletic has-beens. That's how much I believe in the system they built over there. St. Thomas did a good job of containing Shanks on the ground, holding him to 42 yards on 3 yards per carry. And while junior quarterback Ross Wynn only completed 50% of his attempts, he found a way to get Shanks active through the air, tossing him 2 passes for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good reception to touchdown ratio. Wynn also found senior wide receiver Alex Donnelly for 79 yards and a score. Don't have defensive stats for Kinkaid, but I can imagine they are solid considering there was a goose egg on the St. Thomas side of the scoreboard. Walker,
Yeah.
I know that this is crazy because SBC close and SBC Klosek, SBC analyst Jack Klosek, who knows more about the conference likely than we do, especially Kinkaid, was on the side of the Eagles going into this game. And from a talent standpoint outside of Wayne Shanks, I understand the sentiment, but based on vibes and based on ball knower intuition and 5+ years of doing this, it always had to be the Falcons, didn't it?
Yeah, and it comes down to the main thing is like I knew that St. Thomas kind of switched to more of a run focused offense this year, and no one stops the run better than Houston Kinkaid. Granted, like I don't know how, like we said on the space, I think he's a wizard. I think it's witchcraft. Like I know we're, you know, Christian, football about podcast, but man, it's witchcraft. I think it is. I don't know how else to say it. It's impressive, man. It's absolutely impressive what he's able to do, and they have a great offensive line. 2 great running backs over there at St. Thomas, and it's only 6 points. Like it's just a testament to this coaching staff, to the discipline these guys have on defense, and it leads with the results, man. Kinkaid, I mean, we'll talk about it later. Like they're now probably a top 5 team in TXPS. I think that's kind of where we're gonna have to put them, right? Or at least higher now. Yeah, maybe like 6. I'm being this actually, maybe 6, 7. Like actually, right around there.
I'm pretty sure it's gone at this point. I think
I know.
we got to
I
figure
love
out the
being
timeline on
up
this
and
stuff.
just fully
No,
like
we're
being 4
we're
months
fully
late to that.
up, dude. I mean, they're phasing it out, and we're hitting it at the peak right now for us.
Yeah, exactly. But St. Thomas, we've had these kind of same arguments last year, right, with the offense, right, where they never really had it fully going at the start of the year with figuring out what quarterback they do and all of that. You found your quarterback this year. You have the running backs to do it, and you need more points than 6 points against a team like Kinkaid. And can they still win district and everything? And they still do everything? Yes, 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 and yes. But not the greatest showing if you are a fan of the Eagles, man, really. But can they bounce back even better? And they're going to need to. A couple other games they have coming up. I forget who they play coming up next. But once it goes into district play, you gotta score more points than 6, and I think they can. Because if you can beat a team like Lake Creek, you can play in this league and you can play in this division, right? So I just don't think it was a greatest showing for St. Thomas last night.
No, I definitely don't think so. It's it's interesting, but at the end of the day, it's more of a testament to Kinkaid's ability to get it done in those situations than a knock against St. Thomas. Ryan, is that something you would agree with?
I just think that Kinkaid is building the right pieces. They started out 0-2, and I feel like that's where maybe Jack got confused with that because either he clearly doesn't understand the level that Gunter and Regents are at, or because
I think he does.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm just like, I hope he understands it because like those teams are very, very, very good teams, and like these were close games for both those games. Like Kinkaid is a very good team. Ross Wynn is better than I thought he was. Like they have pieces that are outside of Wayne Shanks that make this team, work well. It's not all relying on Wayne Shanks like a team like St. John's relied on Cole Allen for every play. Wayne Shanks is not a part of that. It is not that same to Kinkaid as what he was for St. John's. With all that being said, I feel like Kinkaid set themselves up pretty well. I think their path for being a top 5, top 6, 7 team in TXBS is pretty good at the moment. That's a great win, and that's great defense once again from Kinkaid. 6 points is pretty lethal against a team that should be able to put up more than that.
Did I miss a 6-7 reference in there when I was on my phone? I saw you smile.
Did I say anything?
I have no idea.
Oh, on your phone? On your phone?
Yeah. I'm
Cool.
multitasking.
So I get the kicker jokes, but then I just never get to dish out the phone stuff, do I? All right, cool. Let's move on.
I don't think Walker wasn't on. No, Walker wasn't on his phone because he's writing the script. But
no. All right, if I'm not that important to this show, I can get off. Like if I don't add any value, someone at home let me know. I know I'm gonna play the Coach with Warren clip 5 times tonight just to make myself feel better about what I know on this damn show. This show sometimes, y'all, man, my co-hosts have no faith in me, dude. At least I make good videos every now and then.
Don't act like you never get on your phone when we're talking.
What? Do I really? I feel like I
have no idea.
I don't do that as much as y'all.
I do.
Sure.
You definitely don't. I will give you that, Ryan. You definitely don't.
I definitely do not.
That's fine.
Because
you gotta understand. You gotta understand. We've been doing this
with the other people, with my other
You still, hey, you're talking to a guy who's won 0 pick record championships. You still have 2-0 on me.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. To be honest, what I will say in my defense is I always, number one, it's not very often. Number two, I always still hear what you say. But number 3, we've done this for 5 years. I've got Steely Dan playing in the background. I'm trying to send something off to someone else. I can triple multitask when needed. But
this is the problem. He listens to music the entire episode. That's the other problem.
I do. Yeah. No. We're old pros at this.
Dude, that needed to happen. That was good. I like
it. That was cathartic. We're putting everything on the table. We don't hold back here. It's a beautiful therapy session wrapped into a podcast about Texas private school football that I'm sure everyone has already scrubbed past because they got tired of that 3 seconds in. But it will be on No Context TXPS. All that being said, great win for Kinkaid. Walker Lott, you were live and on site for Lutheran South versus John Cooper, which seemed like we hyped it up for a good game. And at the end of the day, it was something other than that, it seems.
Yeah, John Cooper wins in dominant fashion over Lutheran South this last Friday, 48-21. From start to finish, this was the Dragons' game. Offensively, the Dragons looked like one of the best in the state. Defensively, 2 interceptions, multiple plays. In the second half, it was locked down defense, truly, until like a couple scores at late in the game. Let's just go through the guys on John Cooper's side, man. Colson Collins, the quarterback junior, continues to surprise me every time I see him. And I think solidifies to me, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in his class. I truly do think so. You have the Jack Devines, the Rogan Parsons, the Crawford Moffats. I think he's right there, like right behind them, really. I think he brings stuff to the table that is just impressive. He's a surgeon on the field. He just deciphers defenses. And we'll talk about it in a second. He went 15 of 25, 149 and 3 touchdowns. And then on the ground, 4 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. That was a 75-yard touchdown run that happened when he ran past the entire defense. He was that fast, juked one guy, and ran into the end zone. He might be the fastest guy, one of the fastest guys on that John Cooper squad, and he proved it in that game, man. And I think that's what separates him apart. He's a true dual-threat guy. He's decisive. He on the run, he's awesome too. He can escape the pocket when he needs to. He can stay in the pocket. Man, every time I watch him, he just impresses me and impresses me. And he just picked up Nicholls State, which is a big offer for him. So he's Division One offered, and I don't think that's the last one for him. I think he'll end up somewhere for sure, somewhere in Division One. Man, I will talk about in a second the other kid that's coming in the next couple of weeks, and Jacoby Dixon. But a QB read with him and Jacoby Dixon, oh my word, that is terrifying. That's going to be very fun to watch. Other guy, Colton Roden, was probably the MVP of the night. He showed me that he is one of the best athletes in TXPS, and he had 13 carries, 125 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and had big runs all over the night at 6'1", 225. He should not be doing that, man. It's impressive, man. He's an actual linebacker. Like, that's what he usually be playing. Yeah. And what I'm guessing is when Jacoby Dixon, we'll talk about him in a second, when he comes back, he'll probably him, Solomon Woods, and then Colton, and he'll probably move back to linebacker. But if you have Colton Roden as your running back 3-2, like, that's the best running back room in the state.
Sweet Lord, that headshot of him is terrifying.
He is awesome, man. Big time athlete. A couple other standouts were freshman Joe Norman, who was the leading receiver in this one with seven catches, 52 yards. He's truly a lightning in a bottle. He's kind of Dean Calhoun 2.0, has the same number, but I think he's faster and twitchier, man. Like, it's kind of scary. And the thing about it is, if he's already that good as a freshman, my Lord, what is he going to be in 3 years? Like, it is definitely going to be one to watch. I think he has the true Division One potential. I think he's going to be a dude for 3 more years, man. SBC's team should be terrified. Jake Sneed looks very impressive in this one with 3 catches, 48 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We talk about it all the time, but he is Division One size, 6'6". The intangibles are there. His catch radius is massive, and he can catch pretty much anything that comes his way, and it's impressive, man. Yeah, we put him to the fire for the clip, and I feel bad for you, Jake. I'm sorry. But it's gone viral. It's over 50,000 views. So if that means anything to you, but
all publicity is good publicity.
Exactly.
He commented. He commented. I'm pretty sure he said they don't understand, which
they don't understand.
They don't.
They don't.
You hit that for sure.
You did, and I think he's a Division One tight end, man. He has the intangibles to be one. He looks his junior progression. He looks way better this year, which is impressive. Man, I'm very, very impressed with this kid. And I think he's going to have a great year, and his senior year is going to be even better. A couple other guys, Lucas Triplett, defensive lineman, was a monster in the trenches, and he's going to be a key piece of this team. 26 offensive lineman David Esquivel is a true Division One lineman. Just got offered by Cornell. He looked very impressive in this one, leading couple like just big blocks for Colton Roden to run all over this Pioneer squad. Colin Weeks, the 27 offensive lineman, looks like a true Division One guy. 6'7", 300, long, lanky, can bend. He'll be really good, and also a very nice guy. Shout out to the kid. A couple others. Sean Brown, Caleb Smith, senior corners, both had interceptions. Sophomore running back Woods, who I believe Solomon Woods came over from the Woodlands High School, comes over and is going to be one of those guys in that very, very impressive running back room. Eric Sipko had a slow night, but probably because they were probably doubling him after having almost 250 yards the past 2 games each. So he'll still be one of the best mismatches in this game. I wanted to shout out Cooper Dupree, the senior linebacker. He's playing defensive end for them. He made a couple big plays. He's more of like an inside linebacker, but playing defensive end for them this year. One of the Newman brothers was playing, and he looked really good in that one too. On the flip side, came away with for LSA. Came away impressed with senior Noah Harris. Big fan of junior Kenneth Bradford. Dude absolutely looks the part. Hulk Titeman looked good before throwing a couple picks. Cortez Taylor will be one of the best running backs in his class in 28. I really do think this team can compete in their district and in Division II, especially with Second Baptist being down. But 2 questions for the crowd. I'm going to relay this back to y'all. LSA did not have Brady Robinson and Asia Bradford, who were in street close for this one. And it looks like, I don't know how long they'll be out, but I'm going to guess they will be out for a bit. The question is, how can LSA win games without those 2 guys? They have the pieces. They beat Hyde Park, which is a good team. And even in a couple of spots, John Cooper, they looked like they could compete with Cooper, just too much offensive firepower, right? Too much firepower on both sides. Can LSA really win games if they're without them for a couple weeks? And on the flip side, this was an offense without Jacoby Dixon. Putting up 48 on LSA is a dang good result. The second question is, how good can this team be with Jacoby Dixon coming back? Wes.
Um, the answer to the latter part of your question is SPC 4A champions. I mean, I think once you add him into the mix, I'm not saying they're going to win it because we just waxed poetic on the brilliance of Kinkaid in that system. If anyone's going to find a way to shut that down, it'll be Larned and company. But the ceiling certainly is SPC 4A champions. Keep in mind, this is a Lutheran South team, as you mentioned, that without Asia Bradford and Braden Robinson basically smacked Hyde Park. Not smacked. It was a close game for a while and they pulled away at the end, but they beat Hyde Park, which is a good Division II team, pretty handedly. So that's the story on John Cooper. In terms of Lutheran South, it depends on the severity of the injury. I still think, I mean, they'll beat Kelly Catholic. Fort Bend, I think they could probably sneak past without those two guys. Second, I don't know, just because I don't know where Tune's at, and I don't know with the talent. TWC would be the big one. It would be hard. That being said, you said it didn't seem like they were super, like, drastically injured, just maybe nicks and bruises. We'll see. And again, what their next two games are Anahuac and St. John's, two non-district games that in the grand scheme of things don't matter. I say if it's even a question, Anahuac for sure. Maybe use St. John's as a tune-up game to get them into Second Baptist. I still think the ceiling's high. They got a lot of good players. I forgot I do want to shout out the running back Cortez Taylor. I think he's a stud. I think Lutheran South will be fine. That being said, that is the book on Lutheran South and John Cooper. We're now going to move into the game that I was at, and briefly, I will go grab a new piece of hardware that I have received.
Nice. That
from
looks
First
sick.
Baptist.
Oh, that's
And
so
the nice
sick.
thing is both of you
Brutal.
have one as well. So there's only one more of these hats, and then
I'll-
there's
I'll- you know
another
what?
one.
I'll say that. John Cooper was nice as well. I got y'all two others as well. So you guys-
Oh, let's go.
gray
That's
and
tough.
white.
That's
So y'all
tough.
have to fight for which one you want. So
Well, I really
take-
like that. That All Saints hat's tough, or the First Baptist one's tough. Walker, we have to work this out.
We'll divvy
because
it up. Well, I mean, Ryan, I'll be
Oof.
able to give it to you in person, then we'll figure it out. That
Okay,
being said,
okay.
shout out to First Baptist and Company, always very, very good friends of the program. And also a very good win here Friday evening. Contrary to the opinion of our resident Division IV analyst, Sean O'Reilly, First Baptist steamrolls Dallas Covenant to the tune of 42-18. There's quite literally an hour's worth of analysis I can go through here, but for the sake of brevity, I'll give you the executive summary of the contest. This one was never close. Maybe the only situation where it warranted a side eye was when Covenant was driving early in the second to make it a one-score game, and Tucker Brown poured cold water all over that with one of his two interceptions on the night. Here's my takeaway for both squads. With all the guys First Baptist has and continues to bring in, it's killing ants with a 30 cal at this point. Covenant is a good Division III football team, and First Baptist utterly dominated them for 48 minutes. We mentioned maybe the one concern for this First Baptist team this year was that there was not a hyper elite guy like Mark Raisin, Elijah Kaysen, Caleb Mitchell, etc. To quote one of the better movies ever filmed, they recreated them in the aggregate. The air attack with Dylan Jones at the helm, throwing to Lincoln Schleif, Eddie Proctor, Antonio Cobb, Micah Foster, Colin Ducla, and Tucker Brown. This is not only the deepest wide receiver room they've ever had, I think it's the best. Walker, that's from Moneyball, by the way. I saw you copy that. And if you're looking for that elite playmaker, just turn your attention to the other side of the ball, and you have three of them. Linebacker George Anagostas, defensive lineman Corey Thomas, and new defensive lineman Jaden Morales. Those are the three best front seven players in Division IV. I think George Anagostas is the MVP of that division without a second thought. He is the best TXPS linebacker I've seen since Palmer Nix. The front quite literally might cause more injuries to their opposition than they allow touchdowns over the course of district play. Micah Foster was also a monster on the defensive end of this game with 3 interceptions and 1 going for 6. Tucker Brown had 2 and a receiving touchdown, and George Anagostas had another to record 6 total interceptions for the Saints, 7 if you count 1 that Anagostas had on a 2-point conversion. Pause for breath. As for Covenant, First of all, genuinely some of the nicest people I've covered and had the pleasure of interacting with. I talked to Ryan Hillner, Connor Evans, Duke Black, among others, extensively after the game, and they're all just very impressive athletes and, more importantly, young men. That said, for the Knights, this game, quite frankly, does not matter at all. Freshman quarterback Thomas Lashley came in to relieve sophomore quarterback Ryan Hillner following a first quarter concussion and proceeded to throw 3 touchdowns to senior wide receiver Duke Black while having an insane amount of pressure in his face and taking some pretty tough hits. It's almost like somebody smart taught him how to make those plays and read defenses. Connor Evans is still unquestionably one of the best defensive line prospects in Division III, and he earned the respect of First Baptist by drawing double and triple teams all contest. Junior athlete Caden Cosbo was also productive as a big pass catcher on the contest. I'm very intrigued to see how Covenant performs in Mesquite in October, as I think they have the pieces to make that one a game. All that being said, there's good on both sides to take out of it. First Baptist, I've spoken extensively on. They're going to win D4 by 45 points. For Covenant, Walker, like I said, you throw this film out the window. I came away really impressed with Thomas Lashley, not just because of his last name, but more than anything, and not even the 3 touchdowns and the stats on the night, more so that he had Jade Morales, Corey Thomas, and George Anagostis bearing down on him all night. And if you look at some of the clips we posted, there's 2 or 3 where he's there, and he's a young kid. He's not physically developed yet, but he's standing in the pocket, and right as he's throwing, one of those dudes are pile driving him into the turf.
Yeah.
And he'd throw it, make the completion, get back up, dust himself off, go get back in the huddle. If I had half that ability at 14, I might play college football somewhere, but I didn't and I don't. That being said, very impressed with him, very impressed with the way Covenant responded to adversity, probably more impressed with how good First Baptist is in the grand scheme of things. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
No, I think you're absolutely right, man. I think it's a positive for both games, right? First Baptist, you win, you move on, right? You show that you can do it. I want to shout out Tucker Brown because from the clips I saw, I thought he looked dang impressive. And just like, you know how some people just look like an athlete, like just how they move? He looks like that kind of, like he just looks like a dude, man. And I think he's going to be a big time player. And it feels like he's been playing there for 5 years, but then he's still a junior. And I think that's insane.
I couldn't believe it.
So I want to shout out to him. And yeah, Covenant wise, they looked solid, man. They looked like they moved the ball on a great team in First Baptist a lot of times this game. And that's what you kind of want to see, right? Where you're going to face a team probably bigger than you and the I don't know, the aura around them in DC, right? You need to show, hey, I'm not scared. Like, I want to go up against this match. This is what we look forward to. And I think that's kind of what they did in this one, right? Where they're not going to be scared of the team they play against. And if anyone is not scared, it's going to be that Lashley kid where he just stood there and was like, I'll make the plays. And that's what you need to do against a team like DC. Scheme them up, have a great scheme, not be afraid, and go win that game. And I think they can do it this year. So I think you can absolutely take away positives from this one and be like, we have the mentality to go out in DC. And if that is in Mesquite, that's everything you don't like. In Mesquite against DC, how can you be? And how are you going to battle through all that? And that's going to be very, very fun to watch.
I definitely think so. Ryan Schroeder, a lot of moving pieces in this game, but a lot of things to talk about. Your thoughts?
I have to mention the Micah Foster hit off rip. Did you hit that already? Dude,
I didn't.
That Micah Foster hit was insane. We got that clip that you had as well. Also, did you even talk about the Colden juke as well?
Mm-mm.
Oh, the juke was probably even crazier than the hit. I mean,
crazier than both of those is the Eddie Proctor moss in the corner of the end. Dude, he mossed him like this. I've never seen that in my life. It was amazing. Yeah. What is D-Rob teaching these people, dude?
No, literally, when you sent me, because the juke one was when there was still light outside, and I was like, oh my gosh, this clip is it's the sunset in the background with like the highway.
It's 6:35 in the background.
I was like, this is just,
dude. Let's talk about that for a second. Like next to the highway, is that one of the coolest places to watch a football game? It has to be, right?
Literally, I put the photo, like the cover photo. You literally had the signs in the background. I was like, that's so cool.
I was like, this was really unintentionally a cool photo. I didn't even think of having the sign in the background. I was like, oh, that's nice. Thank you, Lincoln Schleif, for being the background. By the way, I do have to apologize. I've been calling Lincoln Schleif Lincoln Schleif for the better part of 4 months now, probably even last year. And I was corrected very promptly, and then I was told that they all started calling him Lincoln Schleif at
Nice.
practice. So
Nice.
we people listen to what we say. That's nice. But Ryan Schroeder, anything else regarding this game before we get to the next
No,
one?
honestly, just a bunch of highlight plays. That's how First Baptist runs. Yeah, definitely shout out to, Lashley's son came in there, throw his first career touchdown as a freshman. Obviously stuff to work on with the interceptions and stuff, but still a great showing. And you play First Baptist, right? That's just how it is. Obviously, they got playmakers, big guys out there, new guys out there. With all that being said, just still an impressive showing from young Lashley at the quarterback. And I guess we'll probably maybe even see him next week. Get some more PT if things are
Perhaps, from what I
Yeah.
heard from Mr. Hillner, he will likely be back for the next
Okay.
week. But
Okay.
that just shows you have a great two quarterback system
Yeah.
there. Should they need Lashley to step up, really good things coming out of one of the better teams in TAPS Division III, and then First Baptist, one of the best teams in TAPS, irrespective, of division. Moving on to a game that I'm sure Jacob Bermudez has been smiling about for the entirety of this weekend: Holy Cross versus Central Catholic. For the sixth consecutive contest, the Knights of Holy Cross retain bragging rights over their bitter, larger, and now defeated rivals, the Buttons of Central Catholic. This was a game that seemed like a blast to be at, a back and forth affair that saw a narrow 19-17 Knight lead heading into the fourth. And if there is a more emphatic coffin slamming moment than this hit that is on screen right now from senior Landon Tiarina, then I haven't seen it. This gave me chills to watch. That is just the definition of a statement play. From a stat standpoint, sophomore quarterback Rocky Orozco accounted for 172 passing yards, 85 rushing yards, and all 5 Holy Cross touchdowns, tossing 152 of those yards and all 3 touchdowns to senior athlete J.R. Salas. Running back Taylor Flores also had a monstrous effort on the ground, 28 carries for 181 rushing yards. We mentioned in the first few weeks that we didn't know who the Knights had to replace all of the departures from last year's semifinalist team. Well, now we do. Orozco, Salas, Flores, Tirina, Ybarra. Walker, can we believe again?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you have to. The belief can't be full on belief,
But it can. They beat a D1 team. I think we can buy in.
I think you can have hope, which is so close to belief, right? You can have belief and hope. I just think, dude, I don't know, because I know, Central Catholic was a bit hurt. I know their star receiver Guevara was hurt. I know Jack Hall was hurt. That definitely plays a toll when the best players are not playing. But Holy Cross, that's a big win, right? You don't allow them to get the get back. You go out there and you win the game. I think you can have belief. I don't know, like, because we did this last year where they're a better team last year. They go through the whole thing and they make the state and they lose. I think they're a worse team than that. I think they can still run the gauntlet to get to Waco, but I don't know how the other teams are in Division 3. I truly don't know, man. And that's fun, but also, like, I don't know.
What I will say is I think that DC has taken at least a quarter step back from last year. Lubbock Christian, I think, has taken a step forward. Actually, they're going to be very good. So they're still there. I think we might have looked too much into the loss to San Antonio Christian, who we actually received some very good information. They're actually, I think, we predicted them number 1 in District 3 in Division 2 this year, but I think they're actually going to be much better than we even anticipated. So,
Yeah.
You know what? Hats in the ring. Holy Cross is going back to Waco. We went and ate lunch somewhere today. There's a mariachi band in the place, and the first thing I turned and told the person next to me was, "Let me tell you a story about a night in Waco when a mariachi band showed up." We will see that again in Waco. I believe it. Ryan Schroeder, drink the Kool-Aid with us, brother.
Oh, man, it's hard. It's really hard. I think we underestimated Rocky. That's the one thing I want to say off rip. When we were talking about how he didn't get a lot of playing time last year because of the position they were in, and that the fact that all the starters just play the entire game, basically, even in the games that they were blowing out, and we thought that Rocky didn't see the field enough. Clearly, we were a little mistaken in that aspect. I would like to think that Rocky has clearly stepped into his own. I'm not in the same vein of like giving this the all out like I'm not gonna throw everything I have at this, especially since Central Catholic had some
Lame.
hurt guys. But also DC though is like not the team that they usually are. Like Lubbock Christian doesn't have Welker Horn at the helm anymore. Like there are a couple teams in D3 that aren't the same as they normally are. I don't know. Maybe. Why do I have to why do I have to say right now?
Yeah, you see,
I can't. I can't.
No, you're
D3 is
good,
hard.
because
D3 is so hard.
it is hard. And we go to ESPN and all these other people and they make these takes without absolutely knowing anything. At least it's good on us for going, I don't know.
No,
And
D3
that's
is hard.
good on us for saying that, because you want us to lie and do all this stuff and predict. I think, can I make a prediction that Holy Cross is going to be a good Division 3 team? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Can
I
I
said
make a
that.
prediction they're going to go to Waco? Probably.
Oh,
But how do they compete against the other two? I don't know.
My brother in Christ, do you understand how media works? We say crazy things that we don't
No.
believe, so the people click on it and the numbers go
Okay.
up instead of
All
down.
right.
Stop telling
All
them
right.
that we don't know
All right.
things.
I don't know.
Oh gosh.
We're cutting all of this out. None of you will ever see this. So I hate being an honest and transparent program with a shred of integrity. I want to be a degenerate like Stephen A. and Skip Bayless, but I have a conscience, sadly. This is going to be an all-time episode. No context is going to be insane. That being said, gentlemen, we have one more game to recap before we hit the road until we reconvene in the next preview episode, and that will be Austin St. Michael's versus Bellaire Episcopal. For the first time in the better part of a decade, my gut is correct as Episcopal utilizes a walk-off field goal to sneak past St. Migos 44-42. St. Michael's made a point to prove us all incorrect here as they went up 21-0 following a pick six by Cole Graff with 5 minutes until the half. However, Donovan Warren and the Knights would execute two quick drives resulting in a touchdown pass to Tyler Williams and a rushing touchdown by Warren, set up by a long completion to Tommy Hetherington, making this a one-score game at the half. St. Michael's would garner a 35-yard rushing score to open the third, whereas Donovan Warren took that personally and responded with a 62-yard touchdown scamper of his own. Marco Quintanilla would scoop the pigskin and score to tie this one up at 28 halfway through the third quarter. St. Mike's would inch ahead after star Ian Quinn would punch it in from 2 yards out. Warren would toss his second touchdown of the contest to Tyler Williams, even us up at 35 points apiece. And then Nico Anderson would call his own number with a rushing touchdown to move ahead by 7 with 5 minutes left to play. Dylan Smith would then smash through the Warrior defense on the ensuing drive for a 55-yard EHS touchdown, and the Knights would go for the kill shot as they attempted the two-point conversion and failed. But they would get the ball back as they set up a 25-yard field goal for senior kicker Jared Pineda, who has likely acted this moment out 100 times in his backyard and once against St. John's in the previous season. And he used all of those dreams to nail the game winner as EHS walks off Austin St. Michael's. Walker F in the chat for TXPS intern Jake Garcia, who I do need to shout out on the program. Jake Garcia came on the Twitter space after losing a football game and gave a detailed breakdown and analysis of the contest. If that doesn't tell you that we have kids that have maturity beyond their years, I don't know what does. But as for this game, we said before the game that even though it seems like from a talent perspective, St. Michael's might be the answer, from the way Episcopal has performed up to this point in the season, it seemed like it was going to be them. I honestly think we were surprised it was this close and that St. Michael's got up so much in the first half. Your thoughts on the way this one shook out?
Yeah, I'm shocked. Like, we said it on the thing where it was like, whatever, EHS is a 30-point favorite in this one, and we were kind of shocked about it, or like Massey Ratings made it a 30-point spread, and we were like, that's crazy. And in the back of my mind, I was like, it might be like 21-point win. Like, that's kind of what I thought in my mind. I really thought that. And I think it shows a testament to this St. Mike's team, really. Like, they're about it this year. And we might have ranked them too low in our Division I group, and you'll see it on the rankings. I think they at least go up one maybe this week, because even with a graduating senior class that was a really impactful class, they still, in a game against a SPC 4A team, which we think is going to be good in Episcopal, I think this is a good loss. Like, this should have went this way, and the other way, maybe. They were up 21-0 at half, right? Or at one time. If they win this game, man, there would be some things said about St. Mike's of like, oh my, they might make it back to the quarterfinals again this year. So I think that you deserve to say that this year and that they can be competitive in their district, and I think they will be. On the flip side, that's a good win for Episcopal. That's a tough win to say that you have the resiliency, you make the less mistakes, and you come out with the win. You have the talent to do it. That's gonna make you successful. Nice, make you more successful when comes around, when SBC play comes around, and you have to face a team like Cooper, who might be more talented than you, and are you going to be the resilient team to pull out the win? Because last year, that's kind of how EHS was, right? I would say St. John should have won that game, but like they pulled out wins multiple times last year. That it just showed the resilience of this EHS team, and shout out to Coach Monahan. If he can do it again this year and get them back to the state title game, it's a dang impressive showing this year for Episcopal. So I think this is one of the games that shows they can beat that this year.
I have to agree with that. Ryan Schroeder, do you concur as well?
Yeah, I do. I do also think that I give a shout out to Jake Garcia for coming on. He sounded so sad. He sounded so sad, but he came on and he told us how it was. Honestly, I'm impressed in this aspect. I don't know what my true opinions are of VHS at this point. I it's hard because it's like I can't get a grasp on what that's going to look like in the SBC because I know where Kinkaid's at and I know where actually, to be honest, I don't know where like there seems like ESD out there too, which are like what do I think of ESD, right? Or what do I think of like I don't know. It's a hard pill to swallow because I feel like Kinkaid is just so far and above the rest. So I don't want to put too much stock in that at this point. But from a St. Mike's perspective, in the south of D1, after we saw Houston St. Thomas only put up 6 points against Kinkaid, but then Antonian puts up how many points against Regents? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all these different like aspects of the south of D1 and then SBC 4A. So I don't want to buy too much into this or that. But with all that being said, that's a great game. That's a very competitive game that I think I agree with Walker. I don't think I would have thought it'd been that competitive, but yeah, still, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe I can't really take a lot from that game, all things considered, is what I'll say.
Anyone that tells you that they have any idea what's going on in the south of TAPS Division 1 is a gosh darn liar. No one ever know. Ever since St. Thomas has lost Dante Lewis and Yolan Cardenas, and there's kind of been that flux state, nothing makes any sense. And it is just beautiful to be able to cover because not only do we not know anything, no one else does either. It's a very, very fun time. Gentlemen, with all of that being said, that concludes the recap that we have to get through for this week. As always, we will be back on your feeds on a beautiful Thursday evening to get ready for the next slate of games in week 4. I've already seen about 4 that I'm very excited for, but I'm sure that more will come up and more chaos will ensue. You'll see Ryan and I at the Battle of Bryant Irvin in Fort Worth. Should be a fun time over there. As always, I'm 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have fantastically been themselves. I will see you in the next episode. See you later.